No, this is the real room, right? Like a dream within a dream, multiple universe, parallel realities, blah blah blah. Okay, no creepy wooden figure thing. I don't care about that guy. Let's
Thank
talk to you.
Malthus. I was starting to think I was the only one. How are you? You look exhausted. Of course, sorry. That remark was a little redundant. But it's good to see the Grandmaster was right after all. I woke up just a few hours earlier, and he was here in the meantime. He didn't doubt for a single second that you would make it. But I suppose mutual congratulations are in order. We made it. We passed the trial. Almost, yes. All that is left to do is to take the oath, and then Grandmaster Aranthiel will exalt us to the keepers of the first sigil. Speaking of whom, he also told me some things while you were asleep. About the Pyreans, about these dreams, and of course about this cycle. This is so bizarre, really. At first we're told out of nowhere that the gods have died, and now humanity is on the brink of extinction. This is a lot to take in. Hard to say. I never had those dreams the Grandmaster talked about, even though I'm magically gifted. But then again, I always had the feeling that the Red Madness was more than an ordinary disease. Well, I suppose all of this explains a lot. At least now I can understand why the Grandmaster was willing to break all the traditions of the Order just to get you exalted to be a keeper. According to him, most of our battle against the cycle will stand or fall with you. Well, as I said, we both have to take the Holy Oath. You should talk to the Grandmaster as soon as you're ready. He's waiting for you in the Emporium. Right. Dunwar. The apothecary examined him about an hour ago, and it doesn't look good. It's likely that he'll never wake up again. He was impulsive, yes. But to some extent, I can understand why he was the way he was. You know, Dunwar was one of those people who tried to gild their insecurity with boastful behavior. The reality is that he was the last of his bloodline, and his faith in the path and his destiny as a keeper were all that he had left. And who knows? Maybe he would have been a great help to the Order with the right guidance. But I guess Master Bartar's revelation was just too much for him. It's hard to be told that everything you've lived for was a lie. Well, maybe I just don't show it as much. But yes, in a way, you're probably right. I suppose that's mainly due to the fact that to me, as opposed to Dunwar, the Order always stood for an idea. And an idea doesn't die with the one who first thought of it. Funny that the Grandmaster said nearly the same thing during the exaltation. Dunwar would have considered it blasphemy. I knew the question would come eventually. I suppose the answer depends on whether you're in the mood for some gloomy talk. Sooner or later you'll hear it from someone else anyway, so why not from me first?
Why not? We're already this deep.
As you wish. Where should I start? Maybe with the fact that I don't remember anything that happened before my 6th winter. I don't know where I was born, and I never got to know my parents. I wish I knew. What I do know, though, is that the first memory I have is of waking up in the middle of some village. It was dark, and I felt dizzy and, I don't know, empty? That's probably the best way to describe it. I eventually found the strength to get up and look around, and, well, that's when I realized what was actually going on around me. The entire village. It had been destroyed. There were corpses everywhere. Men, women, children, and the houses had been crushed as if some mad god had rampaged through the streets there. And it had all just happened hours before because the destruction was still fresh. Whatever it was, I didn't have much time to think about it. As soon as I got up, I saw 3 riders coming through the smoke. One of them got off his horse, ran towards one of the corpses, and started screaming something in my direction. Then I felt a blow on the back of my head, and I lost consciousness. By the name of the sun, it's strange to talk about it like this. It's been so long, but the memory feels as if it had happened yesterday. It's okay. Anyway, it turned out that the riders were men from the village who had gone hunting. They must have observed the whatever it was from the distance and ridden back to the village. At least I think that's how it went. I guess I'll never find out. The reason they thought I was somehow involved is that the village priest found me a couple of days before it happened near a shrine in the wilderness. Apparently, I was wearing torn clothing, and no matter what the apothecary tried, he couldn't wake me up from my comatose sleep. And it seems that made the riders think I was some kind of witch child, or unholy beast, whichever you prefer. For you, maybe. For them, as simple people, it was probably the best explanation they had. And think about it, it's not that far off. A motherless child who neither talks nor breathes steadily is found abandoned on the roadside and has a strange mark on her face. They leave to go hunting, and when they come back, they find their village in ruins with that foundling child being the only survivor. You have to admit, it's not that much of a stretch, even if those men hadn't been superstitious farmers. Probably. Truth be told, I try not to think about it too much. And actually, it doesn't matter, because I somehow managed to get away before they could do anything. I even made it to Ark all by myself, which didn't turn out to be much of an improvement in the end, because I was pathless. Yes. Thinking about it now, I actually wonder how I made it through my time down there. But maybe that's one of the advantages of being a child. You don't think. You just act. Still, the winters down there were cruel, and if Master Tyrus hadn't found and taken care of me, I probably wouldn't have made it through my 2nd year. Yes, otherwise I would not be here. He saw me, and he knew what he had to do, is how he put it. Of course, the Order wasn't too happy about a pathless child in the Scuola, just as some aren't happy about you being here. But Tyrus was a highly regarded man, and that's why they let it slide. Yes, and now I'm here. Well, here we've reached the end of my impressive tale. I hope you liked it. No, I guess I'm not. Gone. He was very old, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. But I'd prefer not to talk about it, if you don't mind. He does, yes, and he's not alone in his opinion. One of those hunters recognized me in the market my first year as a novice, and you can imagine that it was easy pickings for those who were already against my presence in the Order. From then on, they added names to the derogatory stares. Demon Child, Witch, whatever they could come up with. Yes, maybe. You know what's funny? To some extent, I'm glad to be who I am. That way, people just leave me alone, and that gives me more time to focus on what's important, on my goals. Several, but I'd say that's enough of the gloomy stories, don't you think? There will be plenty of time for chatter in the future. Maybe. You should. It's already late, but if you want, I can show you the most important places in the temple before you go to the Emporium. What do you think? Good. Then get your gear from the chest by your bed and we'll go.
Okay. Well, I'll take everything.
Let's go.
Drop that. Guess we'll carry that. And I know I had a mushroom in one of these. Doppelbock. Holy crap, that was just like 40 minutes of straight talking. You can see where the 100 hours comes from.
Alright, this is the sanctum. It's a place of silence and prayer, and also where we'll be exalted later.
Pathlessness wherever you look. Where is this
You
supposed
just
to
wait
be?
and see.
Bloody
This is holy ground, Outlander. You do not belong here.
I most definitely do now, you stupid guard.
Let's hope he knows what he's doing.
Their version of the truth or are lying. Do I really have to worry about that? NPCs are gonna lie to me in this game? Oh, great. Where are you taking me?
Okay, I think you've seen this place before. We call this part of the temple the Chronicum, and in here is gathered the knowledge of the Order, written down in books and parchments.
So it's a library.
Plus, all of the experiments and research on artifacts and magic is done here. So it's a place you'll probably see often in the near future. Ah, and just below the Chronicum is the temple smithy. You should go there if you need equipment. Over there,
Good
that's
for
the
now.
Scuola and the quarters, where both the keepers and the novices live. There's also a training room where everything from swordplay to marksmanship can be trained and taught. You will find some skilled teachers there. Well, I think that's about it. You've already been to the Emporium, and I assume to the Eye of the Gods as well. I suggest you speak to the Grandmaster as soon as you're ready to take the oath. Prepare myself, probably. Now walk blessed. I will see you soon.
Okay. I don't know if that was worth it, but try to make friends with her. Hope she has quests we can do later. She's a little bit more interesting than Jaspar is, that's for sure. I am liking the characters in this game, though. It kind of makes you wonder how many stories are just buried out there in the world that don't get brought to, don't get brought up at all ever because they never get a chance to, or someone tells them it's not a good idea when it is. I mean, it's hard to know. Random stuff like this that never would have existed without Skyrim, and then never would have existed had whoever created it decided to do all of this for free.
And you actually believe this could work? It sounds absurd.
I don't believe I know. The mercenary, he might not be the shining knight of Castle Starsound, but he's better than most of your men. I want him, and you will need to convince your Truchessa of it.
Is that so? Very well, I will convince her. You will hear from me.
I hope so.
Prophet, good to see you. How do you feel? Good. I never doubted you would pass the test. In any case, all that is left to do now is to recite the oath. Then we will finally deal with the more urgent matters. None of it, you'll see. The ceremony needs a little preparation.
Oh
One
my.
day at least. Come back then. Even if it hurts to lose more time, the cleansing approaches. I can feel it. Just this night I had another of the dreams. People I knew, including you. But these people weren't themselves. There was something else, and it spoke through them. They mocked us and said our struggle against the cycle was pointless. It was peculiar. I believe that these beings are connected to the cycle. They must be the ones who cause it. You did? That is interesting. It must be related to our roles as emissaries. Maybe there is a connection between us. None. Maybe they are demons or magical entities of some kind, but they are different from everything I know. In any case, if they are indeed responsible for the cycle, they are our enemies. That's what matters for now. Come back tomorrow for the ceremony. Yes. Why do you ask?
Sky can rain fire.
They did. What are you getting at? A fair point. But in the future, just be upfront. I do not like such veiled remarks. So, yes, my time in the prison was harsh. The hunger, the degradation, to name the most obvious. The worst, however, was the isolation. Ironically enough, that was the last thing I had expected, you know. From all the suffering there is, it seems so banal. But it isn't. You either find ways to cope with it, or it breaks you. Fortunately, I managed to do the former. For me, it was memories of the time before my incarceration, the prospect of what would come after it. They were my window into the outer world, so to speak. They reminded me that I was more than this deprived creature I had become in those dungeons. Strange. Everything seemed too bright, too unreal. I especially felt that in the cloister with Narazul's mages. I had difficulty talking to other people, and whenever I did, it felt as if the others were like wax figures. Like some cruel joke put in front of my eyes in order to mock me. What would have been the alternative? A life as a fisherman? If the things I had to live through taught me one thing, then it was how important it is for me to be right here, right now, doing what I do. In fact, this is precisely what is missing in the world. People who do not let the whims of fate break their resolve. Now, enough of this. We have business to attend to.
Okay, well, I guess I gotta go find a bed or something. There's gotta be one in here to wait for 24 hours. Ugh. Yeah, okay, fine. I mean, there has to be something inside of this, right? Well, I'll find it later. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video, and I know that the way I'm splitting them, it doesn't really matter when I say this, but it matters to me because I'm actually stopping the recording now. I just recorded 2 hours straight, which isn't that long really, but it's pretty long at once. Usually I try to do 30 minutes to an hour. But anyway, that'll be it for this video. I will continue on in the next video for Enderal.